Following the financially successful but critically bashed Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice film would be no easy task, but Patty Jenkins not only stepped up to the plate, she completely exceeded all expectations with Wonder Woman. We love that Wonder Woman is almost a complete contrast to Batman v Superman. Want to know more about how Wonder Woman crushed Batman v Superman? Stay tuned to find out. Before we begin though, don't forget to subscribe to CBR to keep up to date with all of our daily videos.
No mere man can defy calendar.
No man does. But Wonder Woman dares to do anything.
Fleshed out supporting characters. Oh yes, there was an army of minor players in Batman v Superman, yet you'd be hard-pressed to remember many details about them. Give it a try. Do you remember any of them? Ringers like Holly Hunter and Scoot McNairy were wasted on dead-end subplots that did nothing but nudge Batman and Superman closer to their confrontation and realization that their moms are both named Martha. We will never forget how much time in a $250 million superhero movie was dedicated to Holly Hunter staring at a jar of urine. We know, totally gross. But perhaps most galling of all, fan favorites like Jimmy Olsen and Mercy Graves were introduced only to die pointless, violent deaths. Such a wasted opportunity. Wonder Woman, on the other hand, lets its supporting cast shine. Robin Wright's Antiope gets a relatively small amount of screen time, yet she's a crucial, fully realized character who helps shape Diana's worldview in important ways. Etta Candy could have been reduced to a one-note joke, but was given warmth and purpose as Steve Trevor's underappreciated assistant. Giving that kind of character small roles is what make films like Wonder Woman enduring.
Wonder Woman, what an honor. Luckily, I dressed for the occasion.
Your battlesuit may be invulnerable. You aren't.
Villains with clear motivations. You can make a fair argument that one of Wonder Woman's weakest aspects are its villains. Nobody's really buying tickets because they're interested in what General Ludendorff and Dr. Poison are up to, and yet, the fact that their motives are clear makes them effective for what they are to the narrative. They're damaged, rage-fueled psychopaths who use the trappings of war to indulge in their darkest pleasures. Ares' motives are even clearer. The god of war wishes to nudge mankind towards self-destruction to prove to Zeus that they're fundamentally corrupt. Clarity is always appreciated in any circumstance, especially when it involves plots. Now, if only Lex Luthor's motives could have been this clear, though played with an admirable weirdness by Jesse Eisenberg.
It's cherry.
The talented actor couldn't really salvage his version of Superman's arch-nemesis from some murky writing. Why exactly did Lex spend so much time and effort in an attempt to bring down Superman? Did he genuinely fear that Superman would turn rogue and enslave mankind? Was he an unwitting tool of Darkseid? Was it all just a bizarre manifestation of his daddy issues? The movie never seems to be able to decide, and it just comes off as extremely confusing.
You wear this and you'll have to beat the men off with a stick.
Believe me, I don't need a stick.
A sense of humor. Making someone laugh is a surefire way to get them on your team. After all, who doesn't love a good laugh? However, this is an issue that often gets misconstrued. The idea that all superhero movies need to wield the snarky self-awareness of Iron Man or Thor is preposterous. Green Lantern is a textbook example of how marrying that brand of humor to a character when it doesn't fit can backfire spectacularly. But these movies do need some levity, and Batman v Superman was nearly bereft of it. A superhero movie that dark and serious with essentially no laughs is bound to leave moviegoers depressed after watching. Appropriate humor in dark films can be magical, if done well, of course. Conversely, Wonder Woman never shies away from the fact that it's a war movie with real moments of sacrifice. And yet, it can take time to let Diana marvel at her first taste of ice cream.
I will try some ice cream. And another for my friend Hannah.
Well, whatever you say, lady. Just don't, take my arm with it.
Or marinate in Steve's hilarious awkwardness as he tries to form a relationship with a woman who's never met a man. They're light, human moments that make you want to root for these characters. After all, isn't life all about the little things? Plot coherence. There are many things that can be debated about Batman v Superman. Among them is Batman's lethal methods, Superman's lingering self-doubt, and our favorite, the Martha resolution to the pair's confrontation. One thing that's difficult to contest is that the theatrical cut of the movie just doesn't make a lot of sense. This was somewhat rectified when the Ultimate Edition of the film was released on home video, adding an additional half hour of material that proved rather rather crucial to understanding the movie's plot. One of the most notable segments is one that happens early on involving Lois Lane's misadventures in Africa. Regardless of the added half hour, the 2.5 hours should have been plenty of time for the movie to make basic logistical sense. Wonder Woman's plot, on the other hand, could not be much clearer. Simple feels like something of an insult when you're talking about a story, but the straightforward plotting gives Wonder Woman room to breathe. Patty Jenkins is able to fully explore this world and its characters, and ruminate on the high-minded ideals that Diana is attempting to bring to man's world. We really hope that DC continues this less is more approach in future films.
Look! It's Wonder Woman!
A sense of adventure. We obviously know that none of the DCEU films are exactly lacking for action. However, prior to Wonder Woman, it had tended to be more violent vengeance.
Do you bleed? You will.
There's nothing necessarily wrong with that when considering comic book worlds, but there are many other avenues to be explored that make for much richer plots. Batman v Superman's climactic battle between the Dark Knight and Man of Steel feels heavy, even if it's well shot and viscerally thrilling. It's really just two guys wailing on each other, but in really cool costumes. Wonder Woman revels in some good old-fashioned adventure movie tropes. Steve Trevor, after all, is a spy. He and his ragtag team of mercenaries indulge in plenty of Indiana Jones-style shenanigans. Meanwhile, Diana takes her decidedly more direct approach.
An angel. I must be in heaven.
You're not dead.
A great romance. Superman's driving motivation in all things in Batman v Superman is his all-encompassing devotion to Lois Lane.
This is my world.
No, Clark, don't.
You are my world.
It's a sweet and commendable motivation, yet it's problematic for a few reasons. Superman's traditional devotion to humanity has been reimagined as being laser-focused on Lois. While we think Superman's love for Lois is sweet, it can come off a bit too intense at times. It sometimes feels like if Lois wasn't around, Clark would go live on top of a mountain, talking to his dead dad for the rest of his days. Also, while Batman v Superman constantly tells us that Clark and Lois love each other, it never really shows us why that is. The movie is so busy building up its labyrinthine plot that it never takes more than one scene to show these two iconic characters just happily living their lives together. We need to believe this intense love, and we just don't. Diana and Steve's romance makes much more sense. The chemistry between the two is undeniable, and they better each other in ways that they could have never expected. Steve rediscovers hope through Diana in the midst of an unending war, and Diana discovers the best humanity has to offer in Steve. A hero who's heroic. Well, for a movie that's ostensibly about superheroes, there's very little of Batman v Superman that's spent on acts of heroism. Batman is introduced in a scene where he's liberating a group of women from a human trafficker, who he brutally tortures for good measure. Then there's a brief montage of Superman saving several different people, which is overlaid with television talking heads discussing whether or not he's to be trusted. But other than those moments, the movie largely revolves around the personal vendetta between the two men as Lex Luthor manipulates them into conflict. If they weren't such well-known figures, we would have a hard time remembering that they were heroes. Wonder Woman wears its heroism on its sleeve. Diana doesn't need to articulate a heroic ethos. She's shouting it from the rooftops with almost every action she takes.
Hey! Oh!
Thanks!
Next time, mind your manners.
Thematic imagery. One of the weirdest, most unexplainable aspects of Batman v Superman is how dull the visual palette is. Yes, we know the action sequences are awesome and the film is supposed to be dark and gritty, but come on now. Zack Snyder is not exactly known as a subtle, conservative filmmaker, yet the film is largely a murky gray haze. It's hard to imagine why the guy who made some of the most visually striking films of the 21st century would let a movie starring the two most iconic superheroes of all time come off so gray. It feels like Snyder was attempting to marry his style to Nolan's, possibly to continue some flow with the prior Batman films. However, it just does not work. Thankfully, previews for Justice League indicate that Snyder is not making this mistake twice. With Wonder Woman, Jenkins goes out of her way to tell a story through imagery alone.
I say we go at him with everything we've got.
Themyscira is almost overwhelmingly beautiful. The vibrant blue seas surrounding the picturesque island paradise are some of the most striking images ever seen in a superhero film. Contrasting that with the smoggy grey scuzz of early 20th century London is an inspired choice, an early indicator that Diana is very literally entering a whole new world where few things are as clear-cut as she'd like to believe. A clear moral compass. Look, nobody should really be expecting morally righteous behavior from Batman. And most certainly not from a version who's been fighting crime for 2 decades and whose battle scars are starting to take their toll. No, Batman v Superman's moral lapse comes in the form of Superman's constant, crippling self-doubt. It really doesn't even make sense within the world of this version of Superman. Man of Steel saw a Clark Kent who, despite his father's wish that he remain hidden, was still quietly helping mankind whenever he could. And finally, he made his existence public to literally save the entire planet, triumphantly reconciling his overprotective father's love with his own moral compass. Batman v Superman's sidestepping of that character growth is genuinely baffling. Superman was already on the road to maturity. Why backtrack? Diana never endures such confusion. She sees the world in morally simplistic terms, eventually to her own detriment. Even when she finally must face the horrors mankind are capable of, she chooses to see their potential for nobility and vows to protect them in spite of their shortcomings. Wonder Woman is definitely the hero we've needed for a while now.
I've got you, little sister.
You're not my sister.
Hope and optimism. When Jeff Johns took over DC's film wing, he was very careful not to criticize the DCEU movies that came before he was in charge. He's often spoken glowingly of Snyder and was a cheerleader for Batman v Superman when it was released, but he was also candid about what he perceived as the franchise's missteps, espousing the idea that it's perfectly acceptable to explore the dark corners of the DC universe, but the heroes of that universe should not be consumed by the darkness. Darkness consumed far too much of Snyder's Batman v Superman, both in terms of visuals and plot. It's a movie where fear, misunderstanding, and paranoia lead to tragedy. Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman is in many ways the exact opposite. The story of an altruistic woman who believes that she can make the world a better place even in the face of unspeakable evil. It's the course correction that Johns promised. It's a shift toward a world where hope and optimism are what drives our heroes forward, despite darkness. Sincerity and clarity of purpose are things we should value in our heroes, and Wonder Woman and Patty Jenkins are leading the charge. They've set the bar high for the next DC films, and we can't wait.
I am Diana, Princess of the Amazons. I won't be denied.
Well, there you have it. These are some of the ways that Wonder Woman is better than Batman v Superman. Do you agree or disagree? Did we miss any reasons? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to know what you think. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and check out our daily videos and our playlists. Thanks for watching.